Oh, let me tell you something. Busting makes me feel good.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Blockbusting, the podcast where we love to hate movies. I'm your host, Jay Light. Joining me today, a wonderful comedy person as well. Very excited to have her on. It's Madeleine Chalk, everybody.
What's up, Jay? Good to be here.
Glad to have you. And I am actually very glad that you made me watch this movie. And it's one of those movies that, like, I've heard so much about for years, particularly in my current relationship. She's a big fan of the old like late 90s, early 2000s rom-com situation. And now I have finally understand what the fuss or lack thereof is all about with How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days.
This movie is beloved, and I'd heard the title thrown around for years. And what's ironic about this movie, and the first time I watched it was really recently. My roommate and I were hungover. It was a Sunday. We were like, let's just eat a pizza and throw on some easy watching rom-com. And I had never seen How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days, neither had she. And we were like, this could not be more easy watching, like just a nice feel-good rom-com. And it was like the most stressful hour and a half because, listen, I love some suspension of disbelief. Like I will get on board with just about any movie, but this one tested me. It was, woo! Anyway, so yeah.
Because you really do have to suspend at least a little bit of your disbelief in order to really get behind what this movie is. So the premise of it, for those of you who haven't seen it, it's got Kate Hudson and Matthew McConaughey. They are embattled young professionals living in New York City. Kate Hudson is a writer for a women's magazine. Matthew McConaughey is an ad executive. And, they both are like trying to break a little bit further on in their careers. Kate Hudson does so by writing an article called How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days, in which she says that she's going to do all the things that women do wrong. Matthew McConaughey says that he's going to get this big diamond account for his ad agency by saying he's going to make a woman fall in love with him in 10 days. And guess what? They see each other at a bar and we're off to the races.
Off to the races. It is the most ludicrous thing to me. Well, I mean, I obviously have a whole list of ludicrous things about this movie, but just like to imagine a boss, because that's what happens is his boss sets this premise up. He's like, all right, Matthew McConaughey, if you're really serious about this account, bring a woman to this party in 10 days and I'll decide if she's in love with you. And then you can have the account instead of your like two female competitors. Just insane.
Right.
And you know what though? It's that all still, like, up to this point, I'm like, I can still get behind that. Like, that's a movie I would still watch and be like, let's see what they do with it. But there is just so much like basically.
What's your biggest, like, where's the part where you were just you couldn't bear it anymore? Like, where was your first breaking point moment?
Yes. Okay. So glad you asked, Jay. All right. Well, really, my main issue with the whole movie as a whole is that Kate Hudson's character is not really trying to lose a guy in 10 days. She's trying to lose a guy as soon as possible. And there's a massive difference because like I could lose a guy in 10 seconds. Like it's really very, so we're supposed to be on board with this. Excuse me, quick pause while I go into my notes. Cause you bet I watched this for a second time and like was getting
It's a smart move. I got my notes all put up and I feel like there's, actually made a great point with the, like, we're trying to lose a guy as quickly as possible, right? Like it seems like the 10 days thing only comes up because Catherine Hahn's character says a week and a half a couple times with like that's how long her average relationship lasts, and so that's
Right,
like
the
all right,
10
we've landed on 10 days.
Yeah, no, it's totally arbitrary. In fact, actually, the movie, Kate Hudson goes, "Why 10 days?" And her boss goes, "Because 5 is too short, and we go to press in 11."
Yeah.
What? Why is 5 too short? Anyway, so my immediate thought was, because this movie, believe it or not, is based on a book.
I heard that.
Yeah, it's an illustrated book, but it's essentially like the two writers just wrote about all of their little individual like dating faux pas. So
it's a picture book. It's the kind of book that you'd find in like the humor section in Barnes and Noble in
Totally.
probably around this time.
I still think it could be a good movie, but what it should have been was 10 Ways to Lose a Guy, and Kate Hudson's character does something crazy, you know, like, and cycles through guys, you know, losing each one as fast as possible.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, if for the movie's purposes, maybe one of the early guys, you know, loves her, but then she like loses him and he kind of stays interested the whole time. And then they fall in love at the end. But this idea that it is so impossible for Kate Hudson to ever shake a guy, every guy, she's so sure she can hang on to him, that 10 days is a big challenge for her to get rid of him.
Uh-huh.
Does not believe. I'm sorry. Like, we love Kate Hudson.
I don't buy it.
Yeah. Well, why would you? Especially because she does some of the craziest things. So some of the things she does, for example, overall, she's just, you know, clingy, weepy, jealous, all that,
Yep.
high maintenance. She buys him a dog.
And an ugly dog at that. She really makes it a point to get like one of the possibly ugliest dogs you can have.
Justice for this dog. I think, first of all, this dog was very well trained. He did such a good little job as an actor.
Great dog. The dog peed on cue, on felt, just where you needed him to. Great
I know.
work.
I was like, I know they picked an ugly dog, like to, you know, really just drive home how hideous the behavior was. But I was like, that's not fair to this dog. This dog did not deserve this.
And the crazy thing is that dog has the same haircut as I think all of the fuckboys who would not identify with this movie now.
Oh yeah, totally.
If they remade this movie now, it would be like all those dudes would have the same haircut, and she would get him a pit bull for that apartment.
Right, or a dog with like Matthew McConaughey's haircut in the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, she creates like a family album with like the baby, like that thing. There's
Photoshopping. Yep. Yeah.
So these are all things, like I said, that you could get rid of a guy with in a night max, like 10 days. What are you talking about? And so, like, anyway, so that is one thing where I'm like, because we don't know. Matthew McConaughey is sticking around because he needs to stick it out for 10 days. But Kate Hudson doesn't know that. So it's like, what is she so sure of that he's going to stick around? And it's just that, like, she's so hot and so dateable. I don't know. That's a tricky one for me.
This is a great point, because the only reason that we're led to believe that she sticks around is because she thinks it'll be better for the article instead of just bailing, which she absolutely could have done at any point and comes very close to at several points. She should have just bailed, but then we wouldn't have a movie.
Exactly.
Which is unfortunate, because I feel like there's a way. I actually, How to Lose a Guy in 10 Ways does make a lot more sense if we're doing sort of like an anthology vignette-y kind of a movie.
And How to Lose a Guy in 10 Ways. I love that. First of all, much better reworking of the title than mine. And like,
look, we're here to collaborate. We're here to punch each other's stuff up.
Yeah, it's a back and forth. It would be all the more interesting for the article's purposes, because you know, under pseudonyms would introduce all these different characters, and you could compare how long it took you to lose a guy with this method versus this one. But then also, again, for the movies, like, you know, let's say Matthew McConaughey's character is one of her first victims. She gets rid of him, and then, like, for some reason, they could have just taken an extra step to figure out maybe why he needed to listen. I don't know. I
think there could be like, there's a way where it makes sense for her to keep going on these dates and being the most like platonic ideal of the kind of woman that a man would not want to date, and do the things that are going to piss off these dudes or freak them out or make them run away. And she could keep doing that, because honestly, like, I had no problem with her performance in this movie. I thought it was great. I thght it was it was so much fun to watch her really take it up to just playing it at a 10, going full bore. I'm going to annoy the fuck out of Matthew McConaughey this entire movie. And I hope that was going to be the energy she gave off the whole movie. Unfortunately, because this movie is not How to Lose a Guy in 10 Ways, we wind up losing steam by the time the rom-comminess of it all starts to actually play out.
Well, the thing is, I almost can't blame her or him because, like, it's so ridiculous. Like, I think, like, you know, the big crazy girlfriend, that's easy to play.
Yes.
The woman who has earnestly fallen in love with a man after 10 days and confesses it to his boss, and then after a quick misunderstanding hops on stage and butchers You're So Vain on karaoke. And then, like, it's just like, I really think they both did their best with what they had.
Right.
And you know what's so funny about Kate Hudson's character? I might as well have written a thesis about the Kate Hudson character which is ironic because we know so little about her, but that'd be the topic of my thesis. Basically, I wrote this down. We know exactly 2 things total about Kate Hudson before the movie starts. So the movie, basically, she is reduced to her job description. She is a writer for like a Cosmo equivalent.
Yep.
She's the how-to girl, whatever.
The how-to girl. What a job title.
What a job.
What a pre-BuzzFeed job title.
Listen, I should.
Not everyone can do a how-to.
Yeah, it's tricky.
To cut to 10 years later.
Yeah, I don't know how to do anything. But she got a master's in journalism in Columbia. Okay. And then she loves basketball. We never know why. Not even a quick, my dad took me to basketball games and then he died, which would be a great, quick little sympathy bait. Nothing. Yep. She just loves basketball and we are supposed to buy it.
And a New York Knicks fan also, which is a real hard to believe that anyone had any faith in the Knicks at this time point.
Yeah, give me a break. Me pretending I have any sports knowledge whatsoever.
Just say the Knicks suck, and you're gonna probably be correct.
This feels like a setup. I'm not gonna bite. Yeah. Let me just. Oh yeah. Okay. So ironically, we know nothing about her dating history at all in the whole movie. We only know that she must have had some success in the past because Catherine Hahn tells her like, oh, you could behave however you wanted and a guy would still.
She got tickets to the finals game the first time from a Sports Illustrated reporter she was flirting with. That's laid out as info. Like, she's not bad.
Right.
With she's got game.
Right. So then why is she single? We also never know that. It's not that it's like bad for the character to be single or that I don't believe that she'd be single, but she should have a reason. We never hear one. We never hear anything of like, oh, I was really burned before or I just am not interested.
I'm really just focusing on my career right now. I'm trying to break out of being the how-to girl.
Yes, easily could have said any of those things. Just slipped it right in. And it's not like this movie is above slipping in super on the nose exposition in a so it's not like the movie was like no we're trying to be elegant about it. It's
for a movie that with a whole sequence of her naming Matthew McConaughey's penis different things, we can probably deal with a little bit of exposition saying, sorry, I'm just trying to focus on my job.
Yeah, it couldn't hurt because he gets a little bit of background, right? So we find out at some point in the movie that he is from Staten Island and his family is all kind of these like salt of the earth, blue collar folk, who all, and actually to answer your question, this is really the biggest hill I'm going to die on, but it's such a small part of the movie. They all have Southern accents. I don't know if you noticed this in the movie.
I did notice this.
Yeah. So it's like Matthew McConaughey. It's just like in his contract, like he has to have he will never change an accent for anybody. Fine, whatever. But he's from Staten Island, so we go to Staten Island, and everybody's talking like this. Oh, we're so happy to have you here. You know, what's his name's never brought a girlfriend home before. It's like, Staten Island has the most distinct accent.
So obvious.
And I was just like, whose idea was it to lean in? Anyway.
Do we think that Matthew McConaughey attempted to do a Staten Island accent, and then they rewrote the casting after the fact. Like, all right, we're not going to be able to get him to reasonably pull this off. Let's bring in, let's make it country accent vaguely and hope that nobody notices.
I would love to hear him do an accent of any kind besides just his own, besides Matthew McConaughey, that dialect.
Same. I don't think I've ever heard him do a non-Matthew McConaughey voice.
Never.
That's all I know him as.
Yeah. And again, could have been explained like fine, like, oh, well, we're originally from North Carolina, but we live in Staten Island now. Like, no, none of that. It's just, anyway.
We got out of there when the coal mine stopped working. We our family came up here, became longshoremen.
Yeah, there you go. And I would have been like, sounds good. I would have lapped it up. At that point in the movie, I would have been like, an explanation. 2 thumbs up from me. Yes, that is. Oh, okay. Also, now I'm starting to break free of the character-based qualms and just go for the gold. Or in this case,
for the gold.
Evans. Frost yourself is like the most bizarre and ineffective slogan I've ever heard in my life. The whole idea is that. Yeah. Okay. You agree, right?
I 100% agree. As soon as part of the point is like, it's this diamond account, right? And he's got the slogan that he comes up with in the moment is frost yourself. After hearing Kate Hudson's character toss it off in a way that feels like it is trying to fuck with him just a little tiny bit. Like, like Kate Hudson's performance puts a little bit of like, oh, I'm just trying to fuck with you energy on this. Yeah.
It's about the diamond collar on the ugly dog, on the Chinese crested. She's like, yeah, just a little frosting. And then he's like, bing, frosting. Perfect.
Frost yourself.
Yeah. Which like, not only, I mean, whatever, maybe I just go here, but I'm like, there's some innuendo there for sure.
Absolutely. No, there absolutely is.
Yeah. It also sounds like just like telling someone off. It sounds like a weird, like boomer's replacement for the F word. Like, oh,
we even have the moment where Robert Klein's character, Matthew McConaughey's boss, yells, New York, frost yourself out the window. And then somebody else yells it back.
Like, frost you. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was your focus group right there.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know. Anyway,
and yet they still are like, this is a great idea. I'm running with it. The worst ad execs of all time.
I know. He goes, well, I like it. And then like cut to the next scene. I'm like, is that how advertising works now? Like our target market? Fuck them. Frost them, I should say. But yeah.
Frost these people. Frost these mother frosters.
And then, yeah, I mean, I guess it's not really a spoiler because they have to make this commercial anyway, but the commercial is whack. Like it's crazy. Which I don't know, maybe not interesting to bring up because there are no visuals involved, but
yeah, you just hear, and that's the thing. There's like the ending to this movie, I think, is what really, really got me into a place of just like, okay, because like as soon as we get to the family on Staten Island, that's when I was really like, all right, we've lost the fun premise here, and now we're just in like rom-com stock territory where it's like, oh, he's got some sad backstory where he's like never brought a girl home, and like we finally realize that the parents are just like, oh, we just want our boy to be in love with somebody. We're so happy for him. And then we have the party, the diamond party, the breakdown at the karaoke with poor Marvin Hamlish. God bless Marvin Hamlish for making a cameo in this movie.
Why would he and the band like keep playing? That's my biggest thing. Is like there's so many roadblocks in that logistically where it's like there's no way the party would let that nonsense go on for that long, but there they are, Kate and Matthew just like belting it out at each other. And I'm also like, when did they get that drunk? Because there was like at one point they're like, someone says like, oh, drunk and off key, blah blah blah. And I'm like, they were there for like 20 minutes. Like, how did that happen?
Somebody's just pounding champagne, just downing flutes.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I've been there for sure.
And probably the energy of being bedazzled. Frosted, excuse me, for the first time, where you have this gigantic, everybody's wearing diamonds, everybody's freaking out, everybody's like, oh, I feel rich. I feel richer than I have in my entire life.
Totally. Just drunk on elegance.
Yes.
Is that a thing, by the way? Like
I'm drunk on elegance.
Well, no, I know that. I do that on the daily. I was just saying like parties where they just let you wear jewelry. Like really expensive. I mean, I don't know if
that does not seem like a thing. I feel like
risky.
It seems risky. It seems like the kind of thing that was invented for the movie.
Right? That's what I also thought.
This is like, if anything, this whole marketing campaign is just proof that we should not hire advertising from Matthew McConaughey or the company that he works for. Like, they don't know. They're like, their best idea to sell diamonds is, hey, let's come up with the worst slogan of all time and then have a party where people can just steal all of your merchandise.
Right. Yeah, there's one point where it's like, oh no, Kate Hudson's running away with the diamond necklace. It's like, yeah, no shit. You probably missed like 4 other people who left with like way smaller things. Like, but listen, that being said, anybody listening who needs a date to their next diamond party, I'm available. Like, I would love to attend one if they exist.
If there are any listeners out there who have a line on a diamond party, hit up Madeleine. Please get us into the world of seedy diamond parties. I do think, and this is a question that I'm curious to get your opinion on. Especially because I know how much you have had problems with suspending your disbelief so much in this movie.
Okay.
The very, very end, we get this montage. We go very fast right ahead. Somehow Matthew McConaughey manages to like catch Kate Hudson on her way to the airport. In a move that feels very rom-com, but also like I don't buy that this timing wise could possibly have happened.
There is simply no way. First of all, the premise for the like big rescue at the end is that she is going to DC for an interview.
I love that you phrased it as a rescue, by the way. What a
well, yeah, whatever.
They're going to save her. You say rescuing her from herself, from her life, from her professional ambition.
Yes. I say it tongue in cheek, but like, because so after she wrote this how-to article, and her big motivation for writing How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days was because her boss was obsessed with the idea, and she's trying to butter up her boss because she really wants to write about, and I quote, religion and politics. Mm-hmm. She also just wants politics and the environment, like all these. She wants to write about things that are important, but they're all these completely different niches. I'm like, interesting. Anyway, so and we also never know why. We don't know why she's so gung-ho about all that. Anyway, so she wants to write important things, serious articles. Her boss is like, no, you work for like Cosmo essentially.
Right.
And you're the how-to girl, and that does well, which is a classic trope, for these like columnists. Mm-hmm. But then the boss is like, but if you like do a good enough job doing what I want for a while, then like we'll see. And so
we'll see what we can do.
Right. And so okay, like sounds great. I'll write this article. Then at the end, she's like, so boss, like, can I write about Kazakhstan or whatever? And her boss is like, no, you still work for Cosmo. Like, sorry. And then Kate Hudson. That would be a crazy movie. Kate Hudson is just like, well, then I must go out on my own. So the answer is DC, because there are no other writing jobs in New York City.
I guess not. I mean, DC is where the politics are. So.
DC is where the politics are, for sure. But I have trouble believing that there's nothing in New York.
Hey, Kate, I don't know if you knew this, but there's politics in New York City and in religion and all that other stuff too. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Why go to DC when you could go to, I don't know, the New York Times?
Down the street, right. So
the fucking Atlantic. I don't know.
Yeah, right. And also, okay, this is never really clarified, but I was curious about this. Basically, Matthew McConaughey, just like moments too late, shows up at her office at Cosmo and is like, where is she? And their friends are like, oh, she's leaving for an interview in DC to write about serious things. And so he stops her on her way to this interview on the Brooklyn Bridge. It's like, I'm like, wait, it's just the interview. It's not the high stakes. Like, she's got to do the interview and then come back to New York and wait until she hears back, right? You would think.
Yeah.
Like, she's not moving right now. And even if she were, give her a quick, phone call. You don't need to commit a felony. Like, you don't need to like stop. Well, I don't know, maybe it's not a felony, but like,
also, is she flying to the airport to go to DC? Because you can take a train from New York City to Washington, DC.
oh yeah, I didn't even think of that. All I know is that she's in the cab.
I remember she's in the cab and she's on a bridge because
Yep.
what you got to have the drama of having it happen on a bridge.
Have the drama. Just like all like none of it was necessary.
It doesn't
Starting
make
with
any sense.
going to DC at all, but you know, it's just like almost. It feels like the plot of a movie in one of those like make a movie in 24 hours challenges where like so much of it was just like, we don't really need that. Like, or just like, we're just gonna not worry about that.
They're
detail.
racking their brains,
Yeah.
trying to think like, what could we do here? I was looking up the team behind this movie. So this movie was directed by Donald Petrie, who has made a bunch of stuff back in the day. He made Mystic Pizza. He made Grumpy Old Men, Miss Congeniality, Richie Rich. The guy knows how to direct like this style of movie, for sure. And then I was looking up Brian. First of all, this movie is written by a guy named Brian Regan, which is not the comedian Brian Regan, which I did not. I was like, oh, Brian Regan wrote this movie? No, it's not Brian Regan. This is the guy. He co-wrote the screenplays for such classics as How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days and 102 Dalmatians. This is the extent of his filmography.
No.
Also includes the yet to be produced Shoe Addicts Anonymous.
I loved 102 Dalmatians.
I don't really remember 100.
Well, actually, I should remember. Is that the live action one?
Yeah, it's got what's it? Glenn Close.
Yes.
Live action, yeah.
Mhm.
And then this also they had a pass written by Burr Steers, who's written a bunch of movies. A writer on The L Word and Weeds for one episode apiece. It looks like probably in the writer's room for all those. Also wrote Pride and Prejudice and Zombies. All sorts of fun stuff. But this is the thing. This movie, it seems like we're at a time in history cinematically. This came out February 2003, right? Kate Hudson's coming off getting an Oscar nomination. Matthew McConaughey and Kate Hudson, both their stars are very much on the rise. There's all sorts of great movies that are in the rom-com vein that come out around this time or close to this time. I mean, I'm even looking up, thank you Wikipedia for having a category, 2003 romantic comedy films.
Oh yeah.
But this is like, we're far along in the American Pie franchise at this point to have American Wedding come out in 2003. We have, from Justin to Kelly. I know it's not a great example, but like this is the gamut of like where we are in movies. Oh, actually, you know what? And here's the thing. Now that I'm reading this list, I can see why this movie actually does have a really good reputation. So, okay, so we have How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days is like it seems like it's the best one from the time. Unless you count Agent Cody Banks up there, which I would personally count Agent Cody Banks as
I would
a great top tier romantic comedy. Never thought of it that way, but thank you, Wikipedia, for opening my eyes. This also came out the same year as From Justin to Kelly and Geely, both of which are widely regarded as some of the worst movies of all time. Geely, of course, being the Ben Affleck, Jennifer Lopez movie that caused them to break up in the first place.
Why? It caused I am gotta be honest, I'm not familiar with Geely.
Oh, really?
No.
All right. Let me tell you about Geely.
Okay, I'm cozying up.
Geely is a movie starring Ben Affleck and Christopher Lopez, or Ben Affleck and Christopher Lopez. Sorry, I'm running on very little sleep. Geely is a movie starring Ben Affleck and Jennifer Lopez. It's right in the middle of their first go at a relationship. It got a lot of press because of that. However, it was widely regarded as one of the worst films at all time. It cost $75.6 million to make. It made $7.2 million back at the box office. It's got a 6% on Rotten Tomatoes. Roger Ebert and Richard Roeper both gave it a thumbs down. Let's see here. Owen Gleiberman gave it a C+. It did real bad. It won Worst Picture, Worst Actor, Worst Actress, Worst Screen Couple, Worst Director, and Screenplay at the Golden Raspberry Awards. And this movie, I'm not sure how much of the tabloids are going to say this, but I'll say this. I'm pretty sure that this is part of the reason why J-Lo and Ben Affleck broke up for the first time.
Really? They were engaged, weren't they?
They were, but this movie really fucked him up. Yeah,
I can't wait to watch it after this.
I actually have never seen it. There is one scene that I have seen, and it's pretty infamous. So there's this moment where I can't even believe that I'm about to describe this scene. So there's a moment where Ben Affleck and Jennifer Lopez's characters are about to have sex, and Ben Affleck, or Jennifer Lopez rather, is in bed. She's got the sheets pulled up, and the insinuation is that he's about to go down on her. The way that we find this out is because she says, "It's turkey time. Gobble, gobble."
No.
Yeah. Dead serious. And it's a sexy sex scene that's how it starts off. You can see why this movie might have caused a rift in a relationship and maybe caused some lack of confidence in where things were going to go.
I'm speechless.
Yeah. And it's
also, why is that not more heavily quoted? Because, well, whatever. Okay, anyway.
I think people were just like, you know what? I don't want anything to do with this movie. I'm going to pass this. I'm going to see as much as I can avoid this movie for as much as possible. But to your greater point, this movie is beloved. I think, there are certainly better rom-coms out there, especially around this time period. If we're talking, I was mixing this movie up a lot with 10 Things I Hate About You. I had to work really hard to prepare.
A classic.
It's a classic. And I prepared so hard to not say 10 Things I Hate About You a bunch while doing this episode. But that movie came out not too long beforehand. Clueless came out not too long beforehand. If we're talking stuff that's classics of the era.
Oh, yeah. There were just tons of it was really what famous hot guy can we pair up with what famous hot girl? Let's just do a random plot. That was really the bag of the early 2000s. And I loved it all. I
would even say 50 First Dates is one of the classic rom-coms of that era. It came out in 2004.
Just go with it.
Mm-hmm. Even Forgetting Sarah Marshall.
Yeah. Just they were really churning them out. And How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days, I think it's the catchy title and the fact that Kate Hudson and Matthew McConaughey are in it. That was enough for me to assume for 27 years that oh, that's a fun, good movie. Yeah. I never in a million years thought it would be just almost impossible to watch.
Yeah. And that's the thing. It's it's got, critics were not super kind to it. It didn't do great upon release. It did sort of average in terms of release reviews. It did well at the box office. It made its budget back many times over. But even now, if you look at Rotten Tomatoes, it's got a 77% audience score. It's got a 4.4 out of 5 on Google reviews. It's got 5 stars on Amazon Prime Video. And I would like to do something that's sort of in the twilight of blockbusting. I do want to read some of these more crazy positive reviews.
Yeah. Okay.
This is a Google review. This is from Arabella Daughter, who gave this movie 5 stars. I went back to several movies thinking I was going to yawn and cringe, and to be honest, some of them did that trick. But How to Lose a Man in 10 Days is actually a really fun watch. I don't think first of all, I don't think she knows what movie she's watching.
Maybe it's a different movie.
Maybe it's a different movie. Mostly due to the dynamics from the main characters. You can see how much fun they had performing. Kate Hudson has such great timing. Matthew McConaughey's reactions are hilarious, despite being a rom-com. And yes, there's a cheesy ending, even though that's exactly how it should be, in my opinion. Okay, Arabella, we get it. The pacing is really good, and the dialogues are delivered really well.
You know, she's not wrong. Like, you could put, like, at the end of her sentence, like, at the end of every positive statement, you could be like, for a script like this, you know what I mean? Because, like, yeah, the dialogue, the actors, like I said, they did the best they could, I think, with this insane script.
Yes.
And, you know, there are parts of the movie where it almost feels believable and watchable. And that is an accomplishment on their part.
It's a review that, like, I kind of agree with, but there's also parts where I'm just like, all right, were you really watching the movie, or did you just put it on as background noise? Right, which
it's great for that. Yeah,
it's great for that.
Yeah, it's certainly entertaining. Like,
Yes.
there are a few moments in the movie that are not entertaining. Like, I can't think of a boring moment, to be honest. So
I really can't. The closest I got to being bored was at the house, but even, you know, there, it's sweet enough where it's like, okay, I get it. This is a movie. This is a review. This is an absolutely unhinged review from Jose L. Castillo Jr. He also gave it 5 stars. Simply put, they, in quotation marks for those audio listeners, don't make movies like this anymore. It's pathetic how today's Hollywood attempts at gooey or authentic guilt-free euphoria on the screen are message-filled. Yes, this movie is saturated with the masses' provable outcome in mind, but it's not, like, aggressively pursuing a politically charged narrative. More activists from Hollywood should revert to the more subtle and discreet methods of communicating their overtly cynical and incendiary issues, i.e. CRT, third wave or fourth wave, this and that, or even worse topics. Entertainment is mostly about escapism, hopefully via the sentiment of joy of some kind. And I don't mean thinking about triple X height theories indiscreet attacking the audience around every corner. I don't even know where you're going with that last sentence, Jose. I kind of understood what your messaging was here, but you really lost me there at the very, very, very end.
Yeah, I bet you could, like, Google this username, and, like, he's probably left reviews like this on, like, you know, Chipotle's Yelp and stuff like this. Like, he's just trying to be like, yeah, thanks for not being political at every opportunity.
Those woke idiots at Chipotle wouldn't charge me less for my guacamole. How
but
dare
at least
they
didn't have any messaging about their incendiary yeah, I mean, and, you know, again, not untrue. This movie does not have an overt political agenda.
I do think he's wrong on the obviously a lot of things I think are wrong with this review, but I do think he's wrong in the they don't make movies like this anymore point too. Yeah. Like, movies like this have kind of seen a resurgence in the past, I don't know, 3 or 4 years, however long the Netflix rom-com has been a thing.
Oh my God. Yeah. Netflix, Hallmark. People love it. People like a feel-good love story.
Yeah.
And, like, yeah, I mean, and myself included, like, to a point. Like, I'm totally willing to sit down, suspend a little disbelief, and watch a couple hot people fall in love. Like, that sounds like a great Sunday night to me. It's just, like, you know, there's a threshold. Like, I'll believe that, like, you know, a woman on a vacation from her high-powered job in New York moves to a small town for Christmas and then, like, meets a guy in 4 days. And, well, you know, any Hallmark movie premise, it's like, I can almost always get behind those. This one, I don't know why it took the cake for me. I was like, there are just a few too many holes for me in this one. But I love
is there a sort of in that fluffy rom-com vein that you think is better than this? What should people watch instead? Like, How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. It's got a lot of issues. It's got a lot of problems with being super predictable, the writing itself really doesn't make a whole lot of sense. we're forcing Kate Hudson and Matthew McConaughey to do an extreme amount of heavy lifting here. And to a lesser point, like Catherine Hahn, Thomas Lennon, Adam Goldberg, they're all doing great jobs here.
Yes.
But is there something that's a little bit, not so much just light fluff? There's maybe a little bit of substance there that you think people should watch instead.
Yes. 27 Dresses. That one is also based on a novel. I think that was that might be, I'm going to check, but I think that was released in 2008, which is 5 years later. It's kind of like an eternity in the movie world. Okay, yeah. So it was early 2008. So if you'll indulge me and consider that still an early 2000s rom-com, that is by far easily my favorite early 2000s rom-com, but arguably even one of my favorite movies. And Katherine Heigl stars in it, and I'm a big fan. And the whole it's basically about a female lead who can't stop people pleasing no matter what. And then she sort of whatever, unlearns that. But it's also very fun. It's written by the same novelist who wrote The Devil Wears Prada.
Okay.
Anyway, so I don't know. I don't want to give away too much, but it's just, that one is very, very fun, but also very there is definitely something to actually sink your teeth into.
Can I wager a guess that part of the plot is her trying on 27 different wedding dresses? She
has 27 bridesmaids dresses because she has been in 27 weddings where essentially she was just totally taken advantage of by the bride. She basically will she'll do anything for anybody who asks ever. She can't say no. So the whole thing is kind of the always a bridesmaid thing in that way of she's always helping someone get married. She's always running around running errands for them, but when will it be her turn to have her big day and get married and whatever. So but yes, she does indeed. There is a 27 dress montage with James Marsden.
How could there not be? Of course.
Yeah, of course. That's what you sign up for. So that's my pick for that.
I think that's a good pick. I'm gonna go in the there's one that I would recommend that's before How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days, which is High Fidelity, came out in 2000.
Oh yeah, heard of it, never saw it.
It's a very good, very witty, very fun rom-com. John Cusack and Jack Black are both in it. They are record store dudes. It's got a great soundtrack. It's really well made, really well written, really fun. I think it got nominated for, I'm going to actually double check this. I think it got nominated for a couple of screenwriting awards, but not 100% on that. Let's take a look here. And then my pick afterwards is going to be 2008's my favorite movie, my favorite rom-com, highest on my rankings list is Forgetting Sarah Marshall.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely incredible. Somehow has not made a whole lot of it didn't make a whole lot of waves. It came out of sort of in the same Judd Apatow verse time as Knocked Up and 40-Year-Old Virgin. Also great choices, great.
They're also great.
But this one it totally slid under the radar somehow, but I think it's the best out of all of them.
Getting kind of hard to believe. I love that. I love that movie so much. I'm gonna watch it after this. But I think it's made waves. I don't know a single guy in his 20s who hasn't seen that movie. There's no way.
It's a touch point for guys in their 20s and guys in, I would say guys in their early 30s. It's definitely
totally yeah. It's a rite of passage.
It's a rite of passage for the millennial to zennial person.
Yeah.
High Fidelity came out in 2000. It's based on a Nick Hornby novel. John Cusack was nominated for the Golden Globe for Best Actor in a Comedy for this. It, like I mentioned, it's got Jack Black in it. It's got Catherine Zeta-Jones is in there. Lisa Bonet is in this movie. Joan Cusack, God. Tim Robbins. It's a really great cast. It's really fun. I think you got to check it out. I got to check it out. You got to do you and your roommate. How about this? Do a great High Fidelity and then also Geely double feature. So you get the real high and the absolute low of It's Turkey Time. Yeah, we'll do Geely and then High Fidelity as a palate cleanser. Sounds like we'll need it. Shocking to me that Geely is not more infamous. I feel like I gotta take another look. I've never seen Geely. I've avoided as much as I can watching overtly bad movies on purpose ever since I got burned by The Snowman. Did you ever see that movie?
No.
Okay. Do you remember the posters? This must have been like, I think, mid 2010s. There's a poster for a movie, and it had a little drawing of a snowman on it. It said, "Mr. Police, you could have saved her. I gave you all the clues." Do you remember seeing this poster at all?
I don't. I'll give it a Google.
Oh my God. You got to Google it up.
Okay.
So this poster was everywhere, and it's a poster for this movie, The Snowman.
What is this?
Mr. Police, you could have saved her. I gave you all the clues. And it's a crime drama. Michael Fassbender's in it. But here's the thing. It's one of the worst movies I think I've ever seen in my entire life. They ran out of money before they could finish filming the movie. And so they had to just cobble together the final product with what they had. And it's horrible. The movie's based on a Norwegian novel. The character's name in the novel is Harry Hola. He's like a detective. They did not get the pronunciation correct, so they just call him Harry Hole the entire movie.
No, that's what?
So
that seems fake.
I wish it was fake, but that's another one. I can't even recommend that anybody watch that unless you really are in for a time. Like I put that in recommendations, like Fishbowl one time. I was hanging out with some friends and I was like, this will be a fun fuck around. And we pulled it out and we wound up getting The Snowman. And then everybody was very upset with me after the fact, including myself. I was like, all right,
I have to admit, I kind of want to watch it.
It's a curiosity. If you ever watch it, I would love to hear your opinion on it.
Okay.
It's probably not going to be good.
Martin Scorsese produced it?
Yes. It's got some accolades. Like Martin Scorsese produced it. Michael Fassbender's in it. It's directed by the guy who made Let the Right One In. Thomas Alfredson, I think is how you say his name. Like it should have been a good, this is the problem. Like stuff could have really come together and been good, and then it just all fell apart.
Wow.
Like this guy's career, I'm looking at Thomas Alfredson's career. He made Let the Right One In and Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, and he got super acclaimed, and then he made The Snowman, and he hasn't made anything since.
Oh no.
Yeah. So hey, don't make a bad movie and fuck your entire career up.
Okay, noted. Although it's crazy that I think about that all the time because I'm like, I mean, I guess I don't know for sure, but there's no way the execs, like, before they go to set are like, ugh, all right, let's just get this over with. They're like, someone has to think it's going to be a good movie. It's a lot of money to make a movie.
Yeah.
You always wonder.
You can only hope. If anybody out there listening worked on Geely or The Snowman and wants to chime in, please hit the DMs up at Blockbusting Pod. Let us know on Instagram, TikTok, or Twitter if you thought that movie was going to be good while you were working on it. Speaking of plugs, hey, transitions. Madeleine, where can people find your work on online and offline if they want to check out your work? Your stuff.
Yes, my work. You can find me on TikTok at MadChalk, Instagram at mad.chalk. Those are like my two main hangs. If you want to see me live, I don't know when this is going to air.
On Monday, this coming Monday.
Oh, dope. Okay, perfect. Well, then you guys will miss this weekend. But if you want to see me do some live sketch comedy in LA at the Broadwater, I am in a show with my comedy group called Elephant Department. That's going to be on the 27th and 28th. And you can find all that info on either of my socials. But yeah, that's kind of what I'm up to these days. So check it out.
Check it out. Madeleine's very funny, and you should go support her work, whether it's live or on the internets. And thank you for being such a wonderful guest and exposing me to the world of How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days.
Thanks for having me.
This has been Blockbusting. Go see something good for a change.